Welcome back to the Kia Hyundai channel. My name's Gabby.
I'm Michael.
And this is the 2025 Kia K4 GT Line Turbo. Now I know on our channel we've already filmed a ton of content with the Kia K4, but this is the first time we actually get our hands on the Line Turbo model, because every other model we've shot with the turbocharged engine has been the Limited. So if you are someone who appreciates a little bit of extra pep in your vehicle step, or you really like the sporty accents, this vehicle is going to be more affordable than the Limited model, but it still gives you so much tech and so much safety functions. Now, Michael, I'm really excited to talk about today's car. Shall we get right into it?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you guys have been watching for a while, you've probably seen Michael already before. He's always here to help me out on Fridays where it's just me. Charlotte's not here to film with me. But today he's not exactly feeling so hot, so maybe we won't ask him too many questions. First things first, I'm going to talk about the exterior, more specifically the paint. This is called Radiant Red. It's a color I believe that's now exclusive to the K4. I don't think we have it on any of our other vehicles, and it's fantastic. It does have a metallic flake to it as well too, which our video bay will never do it justice, but in the sunlight there's a beautiful sparkle to this paint. So lots of definition, lots of style. On the topic of style, the K4, even in its most entry trim, has a beautiful lighting sequence. Now when you go to the Turbo Limited or Turbo Line model, GT Line model I should say, you'll notice that we have a lot more black accents. So you'll see it all surrounded here, no more of that flat black plastic. We now have a little bit more of a premium feel. You'll also get a bit of black here as well, so surrounding your grille. And then we still have that distinct light finish as well too. Now on the topic of lights, let's translate our attention to the headlamps of the vehicle. You get a full LED headlamp and daytime running light, with your daytime running light being this beautiful amber color. You seriously can't miss a Kia K4 on the road. It has that digital tiger face grille of our most recent models, so things like the Kia Sorento or the Kia Carnival suits our lineup so nicely, and it just looks fantastic, you guys. You also get some pretty advanced safety functions on this vehicle, so it's going to be your introductory trim level to highway drive assist. So I'll forward Michael's attention over to the radar plate on this vehicle, also showcased in a gloss finish, so it matches all the grille elements. Now this isn't just for style, it's actually for safety. That radar plate is going to monitor the distance of the vehicle ahead of you, so when you have your cruise control function on, it can take you all the way up to complete stop if you hit stop and go traffic. But I mentioned this vehicle gives you highway drive assist too. So if you turn your highway drive assist on, or your cruise control on, but you happen to be on the highway, it transfers all its navigation information to monitor the speed limit based off the highway speed limit, and based off if there's any curves or just different road conditions based off the road that you're on. So you can set your following distance between 4 different car lengths, it'll take you to a complete stop, and it'll adjust your steering for you too. It's not a full hands-free or driverless mode, but it's pretty darn close, and it's very, very helpful, especially if you're someone who does a lot of long trips. All right, let's pop the hood and talk about our powertrain. So of course, as the name suggests, you're gonna get a turbo in this model. It's your introductory trim level to our 1.6 liter GDI 4-cylinder. So this engine is gonna give you 190 horsepower with 195 pound-feet of torque. Let's open it up. Guys, it's super icy and cold in Canada still, so there is a little bit of ice surrounding our engine bay. Just ignore that. I don't know if you guys heard that. So 190 horsepower with 195 pound-feet of torque. Now this vehicle isn't exactly a sports car, but it definitely has the sporty characteristics that the naturally aspirated engine configuration of the K4 just doesn't really seem to get. You'll really appreciate this ride if you are someone who, like I mentioned earlier in this video, appreciates a little bit more pep and response from their vehicle. Now with that being said, it doesn't translate to having horrible fuel efficiency. This vehicle is rated at 8 liters per 100 kilometers combined, which is pretty dang good. Of course, highway driving is going to be more efficient on this vehicle, but even in the city, it's still pretty good. So let's translate our attention over to the side. I'll also mention the transmission is an 8-speed regular automatic transmission. In the past, more specifically, our Kia Forte turbocharged model had a 7-speed dual clutch. Now a dual clutch is fantastic because it gives you that really rapid response and engaging feel, but it wasn't exactly great if you are someone who does a lot of stop and go driving or commuting. Based off, if you're in the city and you're making lots of stops, a lot of people were slipping their clutches and not really understanding how a dual clutch works. The 8-speed in this vehicle really helps with that because it's just a regular automatic transmission, you guys. You put it in drive, it'll do the rest of the work for you, but you do have paddle shifters if you'd like to manually engage your gears. All right, let's talk wheels. So these are 18-inch alloys. They are exclusive to the GT line turbo model. If you're looking at the limited, it's the same design except for these machined finished. It would all be gloss black. So you still get the beautiful gloss black elements, but arguably this one actually looks a bit better thanks to the contrast. For your tires, they're a regular all-season tire, and that's of course going to come standard with our vehicles here in Canada. I will also point out that this vehicle is a front-wheel drive vehicle. There's no all-wheel drive configuration for the Kia K4. Another thing I'll also say, you're going to get ventilated disc brakes up at the front. They are going to be a larger disc brake than what you'll see on the naturally aspirated models, just based off this vehicle has more power and it needs more stopping power. You'll also get a multi-link rear suspension with a tuned spring and damper, so a bit of a better handling. You'll really appreciate that if you are driving this vehicle a little bit more spiritedly. Surrounding your wheel arches is a beautiful gloss black finish, and that translates perfectly to the lip of the vehicle, so it just flows seamlessly. You'll notice even the side skirts of this vehicle, all the exterior accents, other than of course the body color, is done in gloss black. So it flows throughout the car. It's not just up at the front. It's very nice and it's cohesive. Again, speaking of cohesive, check it out. We have gloss black mirror caps, turn signal indicators, these are LEDs, and just like what we saw up at the front, we have this beautiful satin chrome piece, just giving a little bit more design to the mirror. That's also going to span across the belt line of your vehicle, with your pillars being gloss black. So although there's a mix of materials here, it's just done so in a very smooth way. It's easy on the eyes and it looks good. Let's talk door handles. So door handles are going to have our convenience button. This essentially means that as long as the key is somewhere on you, whether it be in your pocket or in your hand, you can actually just press on this button here to unlock or lock your vehicle. And because it's a push button start, again, you don't have to dig for your key, hop in the vehicle, press the handle, press your start button, you're off. It's nice and easy. You can kind of tell from the roof already that there is a sunroof in this vehicle. It's not just a regular sunroof though, it's actually a very, very wide premium style sunroof. Most compact vehicles or vehicles in this segment have that tiny little powered, it's still powered, but it's a tiny sunroof. This vehicle does a really good job of making use of its space, and you'll get a better look at that on the inside. We'll talk door handles on the rear for a second. Sorry, Michael. This is a pillar-mounted door handle, and you'll notice that instead of the black flat finish that we have in the previous models, it's actually all gloss black too, so it matches everything. Looks good. All right, let's come back to the rear. One thing I really do like about the Kia K4 is the body lines of this car. It's got a nice curvy look to it. So, I mean, I hate saying that in the videos, but you guys, there's a lot of contouring on this car. It's got some wide arches in the rear. It just looks good. It's also very fastback-like-esque along the back end, so you'll notice that there's a nice sharp slope. It gives the illusion of a fairly short trunk, but that's not exactly the case. I'll open it up and see what I'm talking about. There's 413 liters of cargo space in this trunk area. Of course, with sedans, your main concern is going to be the opening, so it may not look like a massive opening, but it's extremely, extremely wide, and once you get whatever it is you need to put in here, there's just so much depth. You'll probably have to jump into your trunk to go digging for what goes back there. Another thing that's very impressive is the fact that this vehicle does have a compact spare tire. The compact segment does not often actually have spares. Usually they have mobility kits, so this is great peace of mind, especially if you're a commuter or you just find yourself not wanting to be stuck on the side of the road waiting for a roadside. All right, now for these tabs here, they're to knock down your rear seats. You can knock them down 60-40, so left side, right side. And then, of course, your pull tab to close the trunk. Now, this trunk may just look like, I mean, it's hydraulic, but there's also an extra function that it has. You can turn this on or turn it off, so it's completely optional, but it has the proximity function where you can simply walk up to the back end of your vehicle. Once it senses you're in its zone, it'll automatically open for you. Super handy, especially with sedans, because you don't want to put your stuff down, especially if it's winter like what we've got right over here. You don't want to put your stuff down while you jingle for your keys trying to find the lock or release, and you don't have to find yourself pressing the button there, although I did it the hard way. Your tail lamps are a mix of LEDs and traditional bulbs. I think they look fantastic and certainly complement the GT line package very nicely. You'll notice they meet in the middle with a nice gloss black panel. GT line badging will be on the right-hand side of the car. And for our rear bumper and diffuser, gloss black. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Of course, we advocate for Kia products. We love Kia products. But if there's one thing I could change about this vehicle, we got a pretty cool diffuser. But where's our exhaust? it's not visible. So you can see we have a downward facing exhaust, and I think personally we could have incorporated that somewhere into the diffuser itself to make it look a little bit more sporty. The competitor for this vehicle is the Hyundai Elantra N-Line, and I think they do a much better job with the exhaust. But nonetheless, still a fantastic vehicle. That's just my only critique points. Let me know what you guys think about that though. All right, let's take a look along the side of the vehicle. I'm gonna highlight a couple more safety functions, and if this sounds confusing, I promise it's not. They just have really long names. So number one is gonna be rear cross traffic collision avoidance assist. I told you it was gonna be a long name. Essentially, this vehicle has sensors along the back end. They're not the ultrasonic sensors that you can really see on the bumper. Essentially, when you're reversing this car and a vehicle is passing up from behind you, or a pedestrian even, think busy parking lot, it's going to warn you inside the cabin, but also give you brake action, so it can hit the brakes to avoid a rear-end collision. If you guys didn't know, that's actually when most collisions occur, backing out of driveways, backing out of parking spots. Maybe not a fatal collision, but it's still something, of course, you would like that extra help from the car. The fuel tank is a 47-liter tank, so very cheap to fill, especially with Ontario's gas prices. I miss my 47-liter tank, that's for sure. Regular unleaded fuel is just fine, so even though it's a turbocharged model, it doesn't require premium fuel, which is something you'll really appreciate. Again, on the topic of safety, I'll transfer Michael over to the front end. Get over there, Michael. And we'll take a look at the windshield. The windshield may not look like much, but it is acoustic laminated, and it also houses a camera that watches the lanes ahead of you. So it's located right in the very center, and that camera, like I said, watches the lanes, but it also makes sure you're centered. Now, if it starts to detect you veering from the left or the right side, it will give corrective action through your steering wheel, which you can override. So if you are trying to avoid something on the road, like let's say a garbage bin was blown by the wind, it'll still listen to you. It's not completely taking over. It's not going to knock you off your course. But it is a very, very nice assistance to have. And if you don't like it, there's a button to turn it off that's right in the driver's grasp. So no digging through screens to turn off safety functions. Another thing, and this isn't exactly new technology, but it's certainly something appreciated, is going to be blind spot detection. So that'll of course be on your mirror, both left and right hand side. If there's ever a vehicle in your left or right blind spot, it will illuminate that icon right over there to let you know, just as a visual warning. And then if you go to indicate a turn, you'll also get an audible alert and corrective action if you start to depart from your lane and there is a car there. All right. Let's take a look inside. The GT line is extremely different on the inside compared to the EX, EX Plus, and LX models below it. And that's because you get the GT line elements. So you'll notice there's a two-tone theme going on, both on your steering wheel and the seats themselves. The seats also have GT line debossing right over here, so in your upper backrest, just giving them a little bit more of a sporty edge. They're not exactly sport bucket seats like what the Kia Forte GT used to have, but these are arguably more comfortable. And I do think they give you a lot more space, thanks to the fact, Charlotte always gives this fact, it's got a smaller frame, so there's a lot more padding on the seats themselves. They're really, really comfy. This is also going to be your introductory trim to having power seats, so let me adjust them. We got a height adjustment, you can bring it closer or further away from the steering wheel, but also your backrest and even lumbar support. So it's two-way lumbar support, very nice. Both of your main seats are going to be heated, so driver and passenger. And when we hop in the back, you'll see the back seats are also heated. On the door is where you'll find your controls for comfort. So heated seat, heated steering wheel, two different levels for the steering wheel, which is very nice to have because it used to be burning hot or off. The door handle itself is a pretty cool door handle. I'll just point that out. You guys saw I went to do it wrong first. And then right over here, we have that two-tone finish again, our mirror controls, they're power adjustable and heated, as well as two express windows up at the front and just your regular power windows in the back. There's also some extra padding right over there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm definitely tripping over my words today because I just ate and realized we had no time before it was video time. It's been a crazy day. All right, on the left-hand side, this is pretty standard, but I'll still point it out for you guys if you're not familiar with our product. We've got our brightness adjustment. So because there is so much screenage on this vehicle, sometimes it can be too dim or too bright for you. It's just right at your fingertips. You don't have to go through a menu again on the screen, like I mentioned earlier. Electronic parking brake and your traction control, stability control off switch. Your vents, again, follow that beautiful chrome finish that we see up at the front of the vehicle. And you do get this pretty cool design right over here. You'll also notice there's a sneak peek at the ambient lighting that starts on this trim level. Now I'm just going to grab the camera from Michael while I talk about the steering wheel and the gauge cluster. So of course, this is all new and starting off on the GT line trim level. Get the beautiful extra cushiony steering wheel, heated 2 different ways like I mentioned. Paddle shifters are just mounted on the back. They're not those extended paddle shifters. It's just a nice, simple, clean look. You'll also notice that there's a very good view of the giant screen thanks to the fact that there are some cutouts on the steering wheel itself. Now let me turn the car back on so we can wake up that screen. It's a 12.3-inch fully digitized display. It's called a Supervision cluster. Essentially, your speedometer and your tachometer will be displayed at all times, as well as relevant information that you can cycle through to change. So if you would prefer to have your navigation data up at the front, that's okay. We got a screen for that. You could totally do that. Let me just find it. We don't have our route on our nav right now, so that's not going to show up. But anyway, we've got our lane follow assist as well too. So this will show you where you're at in your lane and give you all of your relevant safety data. You'll see your distance to empty, your temperature, as well as your current fuel meter. All right, now back to the steering wheel. The left-hand side is where you'll find your driver's assistance controls. So this will be to turn on or off your cruise control. And now if you are on the highway, this will automatically default to be highway drive assist if you have it turned on in the main menu. This is where you'll change your following distance. This is how you can turn on or off your lane follow assist. Let me just give it a quick press so you'll see the icon come up. There it is now, and there it's gone. Let's leave it on. And the right-hand side is where you'll find your media controls. So voice commands, volume controls, phone, even a favorites button that you can program to do whatever you'd like. Off-centered Kia logo with your drive mode select button on the very bottom. Now drive mode select is a fantastic function to have. It's gonna separate your vehicle between normal and sport mode. And essentially, that's not just gonna change the vibe of the screen or change the text you see up there. It's actually going to change the way the vehicle is responding. So the way it shifts gears, but also the way your throttle is responding to you. Of course, you can expect a little bit more of a zippy acceleration when it's in sport mode as opposed to normal mode. It will also affect your fuel efficiency. So because the sport mode will hold a gear a bit longer, it's going to go higher up in its RPM. It will consume a bit more fuel, but it might make you smile a bit more. So it's up to you to decide. Of course, it's just right where you need it. So it's very quick to change. Right over here is something a bit different than the rest of the K4 lineup. So the GT line Turbo and Turbo Limited will have this 5-inch HVAC display. Now a lot of people complain about this, but they never even driven this car. So can you really take their complaints? I don't know. Essentially, you can make quick adjustments to your climate control from this screen. The main complaint is people say that you can't see it because the steering wheel is in the way. Well, let me tell you, I have a perfect view of this plus icon where I can make the screen come up and be fully displayed on the main unit here. And you guys, I'm sorry, I've noticed there's a lot of glare. I promise there's not a lot of glare in person, it's just on camera. So when I press this plus here, it'll wake up the climate control screen right over here where I can make adjustments or my passenger can make adjustments. And if that's not enough for you guys, don't you worry because we still have regular toggles here. So it's not the end of the world that this screen is in a weird location. It's just a little bit of getting used to. So temperature control, fan speed, mode, so fan direction, as well as temperature for your passenger. That's right, we get dual zone climate control, and that's something that starts off on this trim level. Now, we know that our climate control screen can come up on this 12.3-inch display, but what else can we do here? Well, it's more like, what can we not do here? Because there is a lot. So this is Kia's new CCNC software. Essentially, it carries everything, and it does so in a very user-friendly way. The icons are very, very large and very easy to configure. So based off what you find yourself using, you can move things around, make things have more priority over the other, and just configure it the way you would your phone's home screen, which is very user-friendly in my opinion. You can also use this drop-down menu to change things like the brightness on the fly, turn the display off, even adjust things like your navigation guidance. So super handy. What you really want to know is if you are a fan of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it's actually wireless now, so you don't have to plug it in. That used to be a huge complaint for Kia with their larger screens. We never supported it until now. So wireless connection, which is fantastic because you also have a wireless phone charger in the vehicle. Now speaking of the wireless phone charger, I'll just point it out to you guys here and talk about what's in this lower portion. So wireless charger, USB-C for data and connectivity, as well as just a regular charger here. There's also a 12-volt inverter. Your gear shift is just a regular leather style gear shift, so nice and traditional, very ergonomic, and it is leather wrapped as well too, so you get a more premium design to it. Your start button is just on the left-hand side. with your auto hold braking and your backup camera. So the backup camera automatically gets summoned whenever you put the vehicle into reverse, but if you're ever parked and you just kind of want to look at what's happening behind your vehicle, hit that camera button, shows you right up there. Super cool.
You're making fun of me not wearing socks on my boots.
You're not wearing socks on your boots?
I am. You just can't see it.
Oh, all right. Let's get back to the center console area. So these are what Charlotte calls the guillotine style cup holders because they retract and then you can pop them right back out. So this is super handy if you are someone who likes those big giant water bottles. You can make them fit, but also if you're taking a different beverage with you, you can have it more tucked away and held nicely within the cup holder. Again, it also just doubles as a great storage area. There's so much open space here. Throw your keys, your wallet, whatever you want. There's just so much, it's a catch-all dish. Speaking of key, it's a big one. It looks bigger on camera than what it really is in person. Super slim profile, so it does fit in women's pants pockets. That's a big deal. You got your lock, your unlock, your hold for your trunk, so your release, as well as your panic button. But on the flip side, you also have your remote start. So remote start can be done either of which two ways. So you can do it from the key fob, or you can also utilize Kia Connect. That's Kia's app, which essentially allows you to start your vehicle, lock the doors, unlock your doors, check the status of the car to see if it's on, where it's at, that kind of thing. So location services, vehicle services, it truly covers everything, and also your maintenance schedule. It's a pretty handy car, or pretty handy app that comes with a pretty handy car. The center console, fairly standard size. There's nothing really to write home about here, but it's nice to have, of course. It doesn't adjust. I did mention the sunroof earlier, so let's open it up and show you guys what I was talking about. So you'll see the width of this sunroof is insane. I used to have the, I guess discontinued now, but Kia Forte, and it had a much smaller, less premium style sunroof, so it just really brightens up the space, especially because we're working with a vehicle that has a black headliner. Something like this contrast interior and then of course a large sunroof really makes this vehicle feel bright and airy and still sporty. Sporty elements, again, you can get a better look at the rest of the ambient lighting. Now you can change this ambient lighting to whatever color you'd like, so if you're not a fan of this orangey yellow, that's okay. You can adjust it. It also transfers over to your door, of course both driver and passenger. It's definitely more dramatic at nighttime, but still a nice premium touch during the day. Michael, is there any questions you've seen so far about the front portion of the vehicle?
Where's Charlotte?
So Charlotte doesn't work Fridays. So every Friday, it's typically me doing the exterior and the interior. And it's me being out of breath because again, these videos are live streams, so they're shot in one take. And it's 6th season where we're at. All right, let's take a look at the back of this vehicle. So again, if you're a regular viewer, you've probably heard us say this a million times. The Kia K4, it really shines in the back seat. And that's because it actually has leading class, or class leading, rear legroom. There's seriously so much space here, and looking at this vehicle from the outside, you probably can't tell because it looks like such a fastback. You wouldn't expect so much space back here. Now, of course, truly like a sedan, headroom-wise, it's not going to be as good as a boxy SUV, but it's still fairly nice. You have a good amount of recline on the seats back here, and again, these back seats are heated. You also get ventilation for your rear passengers. An icicle just fell, you guys. It sounded like a rock. All right, rear ventilation for your passengers, 2 USB-Cs for fast charging, and then a nice little handy storage compartment here. Perfect to fit a smartphone that is charging with one of these ports. Now, the seats themselves, it may not look like there's too much going on, but that's where you're wrong. The backs of these seats are completely plastic, so it's very easy to wipe down, and they also have this integrated hook, so it's not just a funky design choice, it is functional, so you can hang bags, grocery bags, anything you wouldn't want to put on the ground, especially when things get muddy and slushy in Canada. But yeah, bags, purses, coats, you name it, hang it right over here. Another thing you're going to get that is not available in the lesser trims is a drop-down cup holder armrest. So that's right, the LX, the EX don't have this, and it's something that's pretty nice to have, especially if you're used to it. The back seats are also going to have that same white contrast, so this piping along the sides as well as your headrests. The seats themselves also have some nice perforation, and like I mentioned earlier, both the main left and right seat will be heated, 2 different levels, or 3 different levels. Do you want to show the button, Michael? There we go. All right, you guys. Now, I think that sums up our walkthrough of the K4. Now, I want to see what you guys have to say. There's always, of course, going to be so much more to talk about in these vehicles, and I feel like we can't always get them all in one video. I guess there's one safety function I didn't mention earlier, and that's going to be the forward collision avoidance on this vehicle. So it's called forward collision avoidance 1.5. So essentially, it's going to pick up from what our previous vehicles had, where it can pick up pedestrians, cyclists, other vehicles. Now it also works in junctions, so it's an advancement of it. Essentially, if you're making a left at a busy intersection, it'll be able to scan what's happening around you and avoid a collision in the sense that it will warn you first, and then it will take corrective action by braking. So it can stop your car to avoid said collision. All of the safety functions I've mentioned in today's video can be shut off by you as the driver. It's all going to be done within the vehicle's head unit. So you saw a couple buttons that were on the steering wheel to change things on the fly. Those will not disable the function, it's just a quick on or off. Stuff like forward collision avoidance though, or rear cross traffic alert will all have to be done through the setup button and then vehicle, and then you'll go shut it off. All right, let's check out some questions, Mike.
I blinked 3 times.
Blink 3 times if you need help? Is that what they're saying? That was only 2. Okay, I promise I don't need help. I just need to breathe for a second. I just saw a question, I think it was Bam Bam, saying, is this the new Forte? So yes, but no. It's replacing the Forte in the sense that this is our new compact sedan, but it's a completely different nameplate, and it's a vehicle rebuilt from the ground up. So it's a completely new vehicle in our lineup. We've never had a K4 before. K4 hatchback. We always get this question every single time we shoot a Kia K4. No, not at this time. It's been told that it is happening, or it's been assumed, but there's nothing officially released or concrete yet. Zoran, I think we gotta settle down, if that's okay with you. MSRP $34.80. That is, I believe, with freight though. Michael, which gimbal do you use? I just got the DJI Mobile 7P and I love it. So this isn't Michael's gimbal, but it's the DJI Osmo. I believe it's the 2. It's the newer one.
It's working great.
Yes. So there's definitely been some videos of ours where the gimbal has fallen more times than it's not. Don't know what that's all about, but it's been good to us recently, so we're just gonna keep riding that wave, I guess. Is the sedan capable of towing? No. So none of our sedans are actually capable or rated for towing here in Canada, for Kia and Hyundai at least, but yeah. Nope. Will there be a 2025 Kia Exceed model? Certainly not in Canada. We've never received the Exceed here. Now in other markets, I'm not sure if it's something that you guys are continuing to produce. Unfortunately, we're not aware of what the other markets are doing, unfortunately. I feel like a lot of people see our channel and think that we're Kia worldwide or Hyundai worldwide, but we're actually just Brantford Kia. So a small Kia dealership in Brantford, Ontario, which is in Canada. So I don't know all the worldwide news or what specs are specific to the US or other markets, but I know the Canadian product.
She knows about everything about it.
And of course, on that topic, Zoran just said, what are the ETAs for the Tasman's arrival to Canada? Probably never. Anything you saw, Michael, that you want to answer?
I can't see out of my right eye right now.
Why?
Tired.
Will said earlier, this is larger than the Forte. It certainly is. So it's longer than the Forte, it's wider than the Forte, it's a little bit lower than the Forte. It's a much bigger car, a lot more rear legroom too, like I mentioned. And even up at the front, it's just so spacious in this vehicle. A lot of people think sedan and don't think they're comfy, but this is a comfy ride. Very, very comfy ride.
The seats especially.
Yeah, the seats are awesome.
It's like sitting on a sofa, which is very nice.
It's a very, very comfy car. I'm just looking back to the video and I don't know why I look like an NPC. I'm sorry, you guys. There hasn't been a lot of style on the channel recently. We're not really making the most fashionable choices. Again, looking outside, it's very frequent that Charlotte and I are running around outside, moving vehicles. It's slushy, it's icy. I've already fallen so many. Let me just show you guys my knee.
It's very
That doesn't
very
even look
cold
that bad.
and very slippery.
It's very slippery, so it's comfort season now. We'll get back to style later on in the year. Okay. What trim selections or what trim option must be selected to get a heated steering wheel? So in Canada, it has to be the EX trim level or above, but you do get a heated seat in the LX model. So, get your Blundstones. My Blundstones are even more slippery. I got my docks.
I think these ones are actually, they're terrible. I just got them this year and I'm slipping.
It's not a fun time in Canada right now. The last snowstorm we had was last week, but there's still snow everywhere. So much snow. My driveway is 3 cars wide, and it's more like 1.5 right now because there's so much snowbank.
And there's nowhere to put them.
Yeah, it's so bad. Okay. Anything else, Michael? No?
No, I think you've answered pretty much all of these ones.
All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Charlotte and I will have some videos going up this weekend, as well as a new Trunk Talk episode. I understand it's been a little bit of a hiatus, but we're so back. So make sure you follow along with that. Leave a like on this video if you learned something, or just leave a like on this video, even if you haven't. We'll hope to see you next time. Bye. Michael, say bye.